I don't know if this is a good idea, but I thought I would try something a little bit new for me. I don't really typically do a lot of reviews on here, and I don't even know if this is going to come out as a review exactly. I mean, if you've watched this channel, you know how low effort and unprofessional. Sorry, Orcus Dorcas, I'm not trying to hone in on your territory by mentioning my unprofessionality, but you know how I am. I'm not. This is not going to be some kind of artistic and well thought out video essay on the merits of Elfquest. But I thought I'd do a quick little review, recap, chat, thoughts on, I don't know, about this book. So when I was recently back home in Maine, I decided to check out or go up into the attic of my mother's house and take some of my boxes of my old books. And in there I found my 3 copies, my 3 volumes of the complete Elfquest. This was the 10th anniversary edition, according to the little thing up here, by Wendy and Richard Pinney. Pinney? I don't know how they say their name. But I had bought these, I believe, at my favorite used bookstore, Pro Libris, way back when. And I remember reading these and being really captivated. Now, I was never huge into comics. I have flirted with comic fandom several times over the years. But when I was a kid, you know, I didn't get into X-Men or Superman or Batman or any of that kind of thing. I was briefly into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Archie version, not the original, but I loved the cartoon, and I read the comic that was a tie-in to the cartoon, which was still, I thought, a pretty fun comic. Anyway, and I liked G.I. Joe. I liked the cartoon, I liked the toys, I liked the G.I. Joe comic. And I didn't read a lot of other stuff. I branched out a little, but I never really liked superheroes. So there was, in the late 80s, there was a little explosion of indie sci-fi and a little bit of indie fantasy comics, and I did try some of those. But Elfquest really struck me at the time. I read this, and I was captivated by the deeper storytelling and more interesting, more consistent characters. What I liked about this, and I think it's what I tend to like about creator-owned comics, and I mention it because I see this a lot with stuff that comes out from Image, as an example. When you have people, when it's not being written by committee or dictated by committee, or a status quo must be maintained in order to keep the property in a certain range, they're able to tell a story that evolves and have characters grow and things change. And I like that. Now, a lot of the Image comics that I have read and enjoyed are often complete stories. I think specifically of something like Fatal. You know, Fatal, written by Brubaker, and I want to say it's Steve Epting drawing, but I could be wrong. It might be, I think it's Phillips. I can't remember who drew it, and I'm sorry about that. But Fatal is a great comic, very much worth reading. But it's like the 5, I think it is, trade paperbacks, and then it's done. It's over. The story is finished. We don't have to worry, are these characters going to come back randomly 5 years down the line? Is everything that happened in here going to just be retconned when the next author comes in? There's none of that. So when you have somebody like, you know, Wendy and Richard Penny that are drawing and writing this comic, and it means a lot to them, and they are telling a story, and I think that's great. And so I read this as a kid, and to me at that time, I think that this was really, it was a little mind-blowing for me at the time to read it. I had been a kid who struggled with reading early on, and so, you know, comics should have been a big thing for me. But a lot of the comics that, again, were really popular were not anything that clicked with me at all. Good gracious, I remember trying to read X-Men. So I had a friend who was really into X-Men comics, and they're like, "You've got to read this, you've got to read this." And I tried, and I just thought it was absolute garbage. I didn't understand why people were into it. And if I'm being honest, and I go back, I tried to read a lot of classic comics, stuff written by Stan Lee, stuff written by Chris Claremont, and I don't understand why people were into it. But they were, and good for them. But it wasn't my bag. So anyway, I really enjoyed this Elfquest comic. That's what I'm getting at, and I think that the art is very cool. It's, now I look at it and I'm like, sure, I guess because of the big eyes and the pointy chins, it does have a bit of a manga vibe, but I don't think of this as manga at all. Certainly not in its storytelling. I think, again, it's got some cool characters. It's got what I guess I'll give this to is there's a lot of characters, and yet each one of them feels unique. And as you go through this early volume, it's already establishing history, deeper levels of the story. You've got the Cutter, the kind of, we'll call him the hero, or the focal point character, certainly of this early volume, even though it is much more of an ensemble. His dead parents weigh heavy on this thing, and it's not just a Disney dead parent situation. I mean, he is an adult, but his parents were important to him, and they are dead. There's a lot of cool stuff with this anyway, and it is like a fantasy epic with a lot of relationships, a lot of feelings, but also a lot of action. And I like that it is also a genre-bending thing, because it even starts way back in the beginning with a castle coming down out of the sky. It's essentially aliens land, and things don't go well. Fast forward, 1,000 years or whatever, and we're in this fantasy world that we're in. So, anyway, I just wanted to talk about this Elfquest complete thing, book 1, Fire and Flight. Now, I believe it's Dark Horse, but it might be IDW. I can never remember who's putting it out. Somebody has out at this time a collection. It's like 7 volumes long. I think the first one is 700 pages or something. It's really crazy. But there's like a big complete collection of Elfquest, because Elfquest went on, I think they wrote Elfquest for 40 years. They only really ended relatively recently. And yeah, so anyway, I just thought I'd chat about this for a little bit. Go check out, this is available. I think you can find it on eBay fairly cheap in the color. I think normally the comic is in black and white. Like in the new collected edition, it's in black and white. I believe it was originally presented in black and white. It was only, I think, done for color, really, for a couple collections like this. Anyway, you can get it on eBay, I think, pretty cheap. I don't think this is like a collector's item or anything like that. Or you can check out the big collections. I think the first volume of that big omnibus that has come out, the 700-something page book, I believe is the complete first arc of the story. What I have 3 volumes in this series, and I think it's about 2/3 of that arc. Maybe even only half. I can't remember on the page count. But anyway. So yeah, Elfquest, blah, blah. I don't know. If you want to see me review some stuff, I mean, in as much as you can call this a review, if you just want to see me run my mouth about something I read, like this video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment below, and the other stuff. Check out the little info thing below for links to like my Patreon or my author page, any of that sort of thing. So thanks. I will also try to be maybe more awake on my next video. We'll see. I promise nothing. So that's it for me today. Take care.